The Price of Forgiveness. Introduction. Hello everyone, and welcome back to English Fluency Mastery. Today, I have another touching life lesson story for you. This story is about love, betrayal, sacrifice, forgiveness, and the true meaning of standing by someone during life's hardest moments. As you listen, pay attention to the simple English words and expressions. This story will help you improve your listening skills while teaching an unforgettable lesson about life and marriage. Before we begin, please subscribe to English Fluency Mastery, turn on the notification bell, and share this story with your friends and family. We upload fascinating stories and English lessons to help you improve your English every day. Now, let's begin today's story. Chapter 6. The Family Meeting. Saturday morning finally arrived. From the early hours of the day, people began gathering at Smith's house. His brothers came. His sisters arrived. Uncles, aunts, cousins, and close family friends all answered his invitation. Even some neighbors stood outside the house, whispering among themselves, eager to find out why such an urgent family meeting had been called. Inside the living room, the atmosphere was heavy. No one smiled. No one laughed. The silence carried a weight that everyone could feel. In one corner of the room sat Emiliana. Her head was lowered. Her hands rested quietly in her lap, trembling ever so slightly. She knew what was coming. She knew that many of the people in that room had already judged her before hearing a single word from her. After a few moments, Smith slowly stood to his feet. His face showed no emotion. He cleared his throat and looked around the room. "Thank you all for coming," he began. "I asked you here because there is something you all need to know." The room grew even quieter. "My wife is pregnant." He paused. Then, with a heavy voice, he continued. "And the child she is carrying is not mine." A wave of shock swept across the room. People looked at one another in disbelief. Then every eye turned toward Emiliana. She remained silent. Smith continued. "She has confessed that another man is responsible." The silence lasted only a moment. Then chaos erupted. One of Smith's uncles jumped to his feet. Pointing an angry finger toward Emiliana, he shouted, "You have brought shame upon this family." Another relative stood up immediately. "You are not worthy to be called a wife." An elderly aunt shook her head in disappointment. "Smith should divorce you today." Others quickly joined in. "Throw her out of this house. She has destroyed this marriage. No man should forgive such betrayal." The room filled with angry voices. One accusation followed another. No one stopped to ask questions. No one wanted to hear explanations. They had already reached their verdict. Emiliana slowly rose from her chair. Tears filled her eyes. Her voice trembled. "Please, allow me to explain." Before she could continue, a relative interrupted her. "Be quiet." Another added, "We don't want excuses." More voices followed. "Enough. We already know the truth. There's nothing left to explain." The shouting grew louder. Every word felt like another wound to her already broken heart. Helplessly, Emiliana turned toward Smith. She searched his face. She hoped, just hoped, that the man she had sacrificed everything to save would ask everyone to let her speak. But Smith remained silent. He said nothing. His silence hurt more than every insult she had heard. Slowly, Emiliana lowered her head. Tears rolled silently down her cheeks. She felt completely alone. Then, from the back of the room, a calm, steady voice broke through the noise. "Please." The room slowly fell silent. "Let us stop shouting." Everyone turned toward the speaker. An elderly man was slowly rising from his chair. It was Mr. Agornigo, a respected neighbor, 65 years old, a man known throughout the community for his wisdom, fairness, and compassion. Whenever difficult conflicts arose, people often sought his advice because he never judged before listening. The room became completely quiet. Mr. Agornigo looked around at every face before speaking. "My brothers and sisters," he began gently, "before we condemn anyone, shouldn't we first hear the entire story?" No one answered. He continued calmly, "I have listened carefully to every accusation made here today." He paused. "But I have not heard anyone ask the most important question." Curiosity filled the room. People leaned forward. The old man looked directly at Smith. "My son," he said softly, "do you remember how all of this truly began?" Smith lowered his eyes. For the first time that morning, he had no answer. Mr. Agornigo took a slow, deep breath. Then he looked around the room once more. "If we are going to judge this woman," he said, "then we must first remember everything that happened before she became pregnant." A deep silence settled over the house. Every person in the room fixed their eyes on the wise old man. They sensed that his next words would uncover a truth many had ignored, a truth that would challenge everything they believed about guilt, sacrifice, forgiveness, and love. Would the family still condemn Emiliana after hearing the whole story? Or would they finally understand the painful sacrifice she made to save her husband's life? Find out in Chapter 7, where one elderly man's words transform anger into reflection and reveal a truth that no one expected. Chapter 7. Mr. Agornigo Speaks the Truth. The room was so quiet that the sound of a clock ticking on the wall seemed louder than ever before. No one moved. No one spoke. Every eye was fixed on Mr. Agornigo. The elderly man stood calmly in the middle of the room. His face showed neither anger nor judgment, only wisdom earned through many years of life. He slowly folded his hands in front of him and looked around at everyone gathered there. When he finally spoke, his voice was gentle, yet every word carried great weight. "My dear friends," he began, "it is very easy to judge someone when we only know the ending of the story. But a wise person never judges the ending before understanding how the story began." His words settled over the room like a heavy blanket. Then he turned and looked directly at Smith. "My son," he said softly, "do you remember the beautiful family God blessed you with?" Smith swallowed hard and slowly nodded. "You had a wife who loved you with all her heart, a wife who respected you, a wife who believed in you." He paused. "You had 3 wonderful children who looked up to you." Another pause. "Your home was filled with laughter, peace, and hope." The old man's voice grew more serious. "Then one day, you chose to betray everything you had." Smith lowered his eyes. "You did not betray your wife only once." The room remained silent. "You chose many women. Young women, older women, single women, even a married woman." Each sentence struck Smith like another painful reminder of the mistakes he wished he could erase. Mr. Agornigo continued, "You were discovered in a hotel room by the husband of one of those women. That man beat you so badly that you almost died." He slowly turned toward the relatives. "Now tell me." His voice echoed through the room. "Who caused that tragedy?" No one answered. He waited. Still silence. "Was it Emiliana?" Not a single voice replied. The old man gently shook his head. "No." It was the consequence of Smith's own choices. Then he turned toward Emiliana. His expression softened. When she received the news that her husband was lying in a hospital bed, He looked around the room. Did she celebrate? He answered his own question. No. She ran to him. When she learned about his unfaithfulness, did she abandon him? Again, he answered. No. She forgave him. She stayed beside him. She prayed for him. She fought for his life when many people believed there was nothing left to fight for. The old man slowly walked across the room. Every step seemed to carry another piece of the truth. She sold her jewelry. She sold the television. She sold the furniture in her home. She gave up everything she owned just to keep her husband alive. Several people lowered their heads. Mr. Agornigo stopped walking. His voice became stronger. And when she had nothing left, she called Smith's relatives. He looked directly at them. Where were you? No one dared to answer. She begged you for help. You ignored her. She cried. You switched off your phones. You gave excuses instead of compassion. A heavy silence filled the room. Many of the relatives stared at the floor, unable to meet his eyes. Then Mr. Agornigo turned toward Smith's friends who had come to the meeting. "And what about you?" he asked. "The men who celebrated with Smith. The men who traveled with him. The men who enjoyed his success." His voice grew firmer. "When your friend was fighting for his life, where were you?" Again, silence. "You disappeared." The old man sighed deeply. "And one among you." He paused before speaking the next words. Instead of helping a desperate woman with a pure heart, chose to take advantage of her pain. The room became painfully uncomfortable. No one needed him to mention Richard's name. Everyone knew exactly who he was talking about. Mr. Agornigo slowly raised his hand toward Emiliana. "Many of you are quick to condemn this woman. But tell me, how many of you stood beside her when she needed you?" No one spoke. She did not make that terrible decision because she stopped loving her husband. She made it because she believed it was the only way to save his life. His voice softened once again. If she had walked away, if she had said, "He betrayed me, so let him die." He looked directly at Smith. "Would you be standing here today?" Smith's eyes filled with tears. His lips trembled, but no words came out. Mr. Agornigo stepped closer to him. "My son," he said gently, "before you judge your wife, ask yourself one question." He paused. "If you had remained faithful from the beginning, would any of this have happened?" The question echoed through the room. No one could answer it, not even Smith. Slowly, tears rolled down his face. For the first time since the meeting began, he wasn't thinking about Emiliana's mistake. He was thinking about his own. Around the room, those who had shouted the loudest now stood in silence. Some wiped tears from their eyes. Others lowered their heads in shame. The anger that had filled the house only moments before was replaced with deep reflection. For the first time, everyone saw the story through Emiliana's eyes. And for the first time, many hearts began to change. But one question still remained. Could Smith find the strength to forgive the woman who had sacrificed everything to save his life? Or had too much damage already been done? Find out in the final chapter, where love, forgiveness, and truth come together in an unforgettable ending that will leave a lasting lesson for every listener. And if this story has touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe and join me for the final chapter. You won't want to miss how this remarkable journey ends.